Yeah, Boris, how's it going? So, what we're doing today, what I'm working on here, is some of you guys know I was a little bit behind on the presentation yesterday. So I'm not ready to record all of the patching and repo stuff. I actually have to put together this last little part, which is the enterprise patching. So I'm going to get this part of the lab built right now. That's what I'm going to be working on. If anybody's got any questions or want to talk about anything, um, we've got a Discord out there for you guys to go hang out in. We had a really good talk last night on people getting ready for interviews. We have, I don't know if we'll always be doing that every weekend, but we did it this last weekend, or this, last night, and I think people had a good time with that. Mainly because they were working through a set of questions. I have a whole bunch of questions out there, and the things that you guys can talk through and work with each other on and that kind of stuff. So anyway, so that was what we were doing. You might wonder, oh, where's your camera? Well, my green screen, I'm waiting for, I'm going to try a new type of green screen out, and I thought it was going to be here today, but it's not. So while I could just hop up on camera, let me see, hold on. I don't have anything in my background. Let me see what this looks like. I turn off my filter on my camera because the filter doesn't look very good. Let's see what that looks like on. I mean, it's okay, but we don't really need a camera to do Linux stuff, so we'll do that. Boris said, when are we reaching K8s? If you're talking about the Linux course, the Linux sysadmin course, we're doing K8s on, let's see when that is. Let's go look up here to the, I think they did a table of contents. Hold on. Kubernetes is in week 10, so we're in week 5 right now, and then Kubernetes is going to be week 10. But you could technically at any time just go hop up there, and the lab for this one is very straightforward. You just go hop in one of our Rocky boxes, and you run. I mean, it's simple. It's a simple command. It looks like this. Hold on, I'm gonna go find it real quick. You can go and look at the installer, and then here's actually running the installer right here. It's a super simple command, so I'll link this over to you if you want it. But this is where, like, if you just wanted to run like a little K3s instance and have a version of running in our lab, you could do that. Yeah. And here's the thing about K3s, right? Like, not to overemphasize this, but let me pull this up real quick. I'll just go hop in one real quick. Right, so I'm in a hammer box. I go Rocky, let's say 19. Make sure nobody's in there. And then Rocky 19 rebooted yesterday, but I just run this command, right? Like, we've got this basic download, and it'll run everything to get K3 started. And much like I tell people, if you're not doing any Linux, get into some Linux, right? Well, it's the same thing with Kubernetes. If you've done no Kubernetes in your career, right? You've never even touched it. This is an excellent place to start, because what we're going to do, and I actually have it right down here, is you're just going to do a bunch of commands, and you're just going to see the system. It's kind of like you just woke up in, like you just set foot in a Kubernetes environment for the first time, and you just start checking out all the components and making sure they work. So, oh yeah. So Boris, that's good. Can I show you another one that I think might be useful if you're already doing it? I have a set of labs. This is for Boris. I mean, anybody can go jump in these. But I have some labs that'll help you specifically on the CKAD. Have you ever done any of these? If you want to, I'll go through them right now real quick if you want. So, how's it going, Ryan, over on the YouTube side? We're not working too hard, but if Boris is getting ready for his CKAD, we can definitely work on some of this stuff. Nia Chong, you're doing better, so trying to get back to it. Nice. Hopefully, yeah, I do have Nia Chong. I do have all the stuff up on YouTube. If anybody joins our Discord, right, there's a place called Beginner Start Here, and this has all the playlists for like our Linux sysadmin course and for our security engineering course. So if anybody is trying to catch up I'm keeping track of the playlists here for the course. I owe you guys Unit 5 for the security engineering course. I haven't finished building it out. That's what I'm doing now. And then also I haven't done that. But if Boris wants to go over those lab things real quick, some things that'll come up on the CKAD, I'll definitely go through it. So mainly I was going to show you some troubleshooting stuff and then some deployment stuff that might maybe help. So, but if not, you can always do the Kubernetes stuff here. And again, like for people that have never done it before, kubectl version, see what version of Kubernetes you're using, and then git nodes. Just looking at everything, like just see what's going on in an environment. Get pods. Pods aren't going to show anything, but then when you look in all the namespaces, you start to see, oh, there are these things as part of the system stuff. So, yeah, Boris, I'm not really worried too much about getting hijacked here. Let me just let me show you one to start. If you haven't done any of these, let's start with this one, blue-green deployment. So if you want to hop in there, you can. Anybody else that wants to hop in there, you guys can as well. This is one of the Kubernetes course. I put this together years ago, this one. But we're going to look at how, and I'm going to right click this and say open image in a new tab. And now here's what we're doing in this lab. This is what we call a blue-green deployment. We've got a blue deployment. This is the current state on the left here. We're on the current state of the environment. You're running a web service cluster IP in front of a deployment. That deployment has some Nginx showing a light blue page. And then we're going to flip it like a light switch over to the other one. There is not going to be any. This is very effective and very useful in like lower environments, more like your dev and your test. This is not something we'd normally do in prod because this is a zero. It's 100% and 0, and then it's 100% and 0. It's completely flipping with no other stuff in between. Over on YouTube, how's it going? Versus Acorn, we are just we're just kind of working through stuff, and then right now we're going to do a lab real quick on these topics right here. So let's go look at it real quick. I hop over here, and it says inspect the deployments practice YAML in your home directory. So I'm going to go look at this file, and this file, each one of these dashes right here, the 3 dashes, represents the start of a new YAML file within a file. So it's a separate API call. So up here, we're building a config map, and I'm going to build 4 config maps in this file. They're very simple. The config map that we're calling is named index.html blue, and all it is for the data is index.html, and then this pipe says everything down here goes in a file. That's all it is. So it is generating a file called index.html that has a light blue background color. That's all it is, right here. We do the same thing, but now with HTML green. So now we have a blue-green deployment, literally, that we can test. Although typically blue-green are concepts, they're not literally blue and green. We are literally doing blue and green, so we can see it. Okay, cool, light green. This page has a light green background color, cool. And then I have 2 other ones that are yellow, but I changed them off of yellow because the yellow was kind of an ugly-looking color, so I just made it light blue. But suffice it to say, this one's called yellow and yellow 2. And the most important thing is in the body, they're Canary version 1 up here and Canary version 2. So those are in our Canary deploy later. I just leave everything in the build, so it doesn't matter. So those 4 files up there, those 4 different API calls when we create this, are going to just make 4 config maps, right? And those 4 config maps are 4 HTML documents that can then be read by a web server, or in this case, Nginx, right? Down here, there's some deployments. So the blue deployment is going to call the latest version of the Nginx container. And for the file, user share Nginx HTML, and then after this pathing, index.html, we are going to give the blue file. So in the blue deployment, we're going to have the blue config file of HTML, right? That's what we're doing. All right. Down here, we've got a deployment green, and that's going to be the green, and then these other ones we don't care about, right? When we're all done, there's also a service. Down at the bottom, deployment. Okay, actually, I think we're going to deploy the service in a imperative ways, so it's not as big a deal. But let's create all of those resources real quick. So we looked at the 4 config maps. We looked at the 4 deployments. Whoops. Super easy to do, right? And I think anybody getting ready to take the test should kind of understand those at a high level, right? So we've created that, and then we can get the configuration, what are they called? Config maps. Yep. There's the 3 of them there, or the 4 of them there that we created. And then this one was already there for the kubroot c8.cert. And then we'll get the deployments. There's our 4 deployments. And then we can get all the pods associated with those deployments, and they all came up correctly. Okay, cool. Like we've got the base pieces made. Now we need to put the service in front of it. So we're going to create a service imperatively. Imperative means we do it at the command line and not declaratively. Hit describe on the blue deployment. Yeah. Yeah, you can also run this with me too if you want. So here's the describe. There's nothing actually on this one that's not the default. Everything else in here was default. I didn't change the replica or the update strategy or any of those things. You do actually have to do that in a CKAD. But for right now, we just have this set as it is, right? The labels, guys, the labels are going to become very important here in a second, right? So we're going to go in here and let's use the labels. So we're going to go expose the deployment, Nginx deployment blue on port 80 with the cluster IP with the name of web service. So we're going to expose that deployment. And then we're going to go describe that web service deployment. So here's our service, web service. And it found these 2 backends, but how did it find them? Well, it found them by using a selector app equals Nginx-blue. And if we go look at the pods, the ones that have, I need to have show labels here. With show labels, you see app equals Nginx-blue is how the .9 and the .6 got picked. So here's the .6 and the .9. Those are how they got picked. Because if you ever wonder, how does a service know what its backends are? Well, when we exposed it, it actually picked that based on the selectors, or the labels rather. That's how it got its selector. And then that's how it pointed to this backend. So that's going to become important right here in a second, because we're using the label app Nginx-blue. When we're ready to flip over to the green deployment, we're going to modify that app equals Nginx-blue to app equals Nginx-green, and it's going to go pop over here. And it's going to do that in real time, exactly as we do it. So before I do this part here, I'm going to open up a new tab. This isn't necessarily part of the lab, but I'm going to show you guys this because this is maybe useful. And I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to say, okay, his front end IP is right here. So I can go here and I can say curl that. Oh, damn it. What was it? Right here. Right? I'm going to curl that. And if I hit that real quick, I should see this light blue. All right, that's really cool, but I really just want to see maybe background. Right, maybe that. And then, oh, it would help if I put a grep in there, guys. There we go, okay. But I want to also do a -S because I don't want to see that other stuff. And cool. This will work. And I could maybe say, let's do, let's search like this. Because then now it's just the one page. And then we're going to take that and we're going to wrap that in a while. So while true, do this cool little command here. If you're using the terminal Control-Shift-B, it'll do it here for you. Sleep 1, done. Now, forever, until the end of time, that's going to be pointing to light blue. Oh, you know what? Hold on. We can't use light blue like that. We need to use, let's look for background. Let's Let's do, that's fine. That's fine. Control C, clear, run it again. All right, that's spinning here forever, looking at the light blue background, right? Okay, come back over here. And we're gonna do, we're doing this effect right here. We're gonna go from web service pointing at these nodes to this side, but look at the magic. Here's the magic right here. We'll describe the service, and the service is using app equals Nginx blue as its selector. And then we go and show the labels, and that's obviously going to point to app Nginx blue. But now we want to point to app equals Nginx green. So we're just going to edit the service. We're going to come right here. Where's the selector? We do / selector. We are going to change this to app equals Nginx green. Escape : WQ. And as fast as I can get back over here, it's already switched to green. You guys see how it went from light blue here to already green? That fast. As fast as I did that, we flipped like a light switch from one side to the other, and now we're only seeing light green. This is awesome. So blue-green deployments are awesome in dev space. They're awesome in non-customer facing, like we're not pointing this at, because if there's a mistake that we missed, if there's a check or a test or a back-end connector that we missed in some way, when we flip it like this, it immediately affects all of our users. So this is not the way we do this in production, typically. There are maybe some production use cases, like maybe in the case of like a catastrophic failure, where I can see where you'd flip this quickly and be ready to. But this is a way to do it, right? Okay. So keep that in your head, guys, right? This is the way that we do this one. And then now if I come back over here, I can describe this, and now I see that it's at app Nginx green, and now we're pointed at the 5 and the 4 nodes, which when we go back over here, we see are the we need the -O wide. I should just have both of them on both. Here's the .4 and .5 nodes, which happen to be the green ones, right? But the way that the selector found them and knew to point at the different backends is because of the labels that were on the deployment and thus on the pods. Does that kind of make sense? So that's a thing that you kind of have to know how to do, at least at a high level. So I'm going to back out of that, and now we're going to compare that to something. We're going to compare that to this other one, which is right here. Hold on, a little bit of a... we're going to do a canary deploy. Some people call this a one-box deploy. So you got to leave the other one unless you're paying Killer Coda. Killer Coda is one of the best free sites on the web, but they do have a paid-for tier, but you don't necessarily need it. And I'm going to do the same thing here, where we're going to go look at the deployment. And here's what we're trying to do this time. I'm going to open this image in a new tab. And let's compare what we're doing here to what we just did. Now we've got everything pointing at Canary version 1, and the system's happy. This is a working cluster, working deployment for us in the home lab or in wherever we're at, some actual company. And we want to scale up and bring in Canary version or version 2 of the site, but we don't want everybody to just go to it immediately. We want to test it a little bit. We want to let it take some of the weight, make sure that the system can handle, maybe the first 1,000 people to it with no problems. Maybe we want to track it for some time and we want to cut over. So the way we do that is over here on step 2, we're going to scale up Canary 1 to be 80%. So it was 2 and it was taking 100%. We're going to make it 8 of the nodes, and we're going to make Canary 2 of them. So now you've got an 8 to, so a 4 to 1 or an 80% to 20% ratio of traffic going to both places. And then after we do whatever additional testing we want, Canary version 2 can be flipped over to be 100% of the traffic. So what we're doing here is, in the other one, we flipped over immediately, and we can do, there's 2 types of testing that we tend to do. I mean, there's multiple, don't get me wrong, there's hundreds of types of testing, but right off the top of the bat, like right off of the highest, let's say like the families even, or the phyla, or whatever the top one is. I don't know what the top one is. But the highest thing that you can have is we can we can test all we want functionally, right? A functional test can eke out a lot of problems. Is the thing working on port 80? Yes. Is it a web server? Yes. Is it doing these other things? We can check boxes for functionality all day. We can test regression testing. We can test smoke testing. We can test day in the life testing. Well, not really. But we can test all these things with basic functional testing. Non-functional testing is what happens when it actually starts getting hit with real traffic, how it behaves under load, right? So anyways, that's over here. So let's go, we talked about it enough. Let's build it and see it work. So it's the same exact deployment as earlier. So I'm just going to create the resources. Here's the ones, we have the other ones that we don't care about for this lab now. We have the two that we do care about, which are yellow and yellow V2. So you can think of that as yellow V1 if you want, but typically the first one doesn't get the name V1. Maybe if you had planned it out that way, sure. But we'll just go yellow and yellow V2. And then down here, we called them Canary and Canary V2. Sometimes things happen like that. So the names aren't always going to be correct. And also, even though these are yellow, they have a light blue background to them, which not that big of a deal because we don't care. But I'm just saying names don't always map to what a thing is. That's important to understand as engineers. We can go look at our config maps, our deployments, and our pods. And now we have the Canary ones right here running. So everything should be good for us to go forward. So now we're going to create a service and expose that. And the service is going to be called Nginx Deployment Canary. And it's going to be exposing, it's going to be web service still, but it's going to be exposing that deployment. So let's expose that real quick and then let's look at it. And it found, it's using these selectors of app web and version 1. So if we go look at those pods real quick, here's the pods it's pointed at, 6 and 7. Okay, 6 and 7 are the backends. I'm not using the full octets because we don't care. We only care about what we see up here. But if I look at that same thing and I do a -- show -- labels, right? Now I see app, web, and version 1. So those are the selectors there. You see how there's 2 selectors now? That's how we're going to use this to go across the 2 as we implement this. So let's come over here, go to our next little part, and it says scale the deployment up. So we've got to scale the deployment up to 8 replicas. So we'll do that first. And then if we go and describe the service, now instead of just having these 2 endpoints, we're going to have 8 endpoints. It's going to show 3 of them and then give us 5 extra. So here's 3 shown. And it's going to say, and I got 5 more, buddy. I got 5 more hanging out back there if I really wanted you to see them, right? And you can do, there's another way to look at the web service that shows all of them, and I'm drawing a blank right now on what that command is, but it's like a describe. Not really that big of a deal for right now. So then we're going to go look at the pods that are there, and look, here's 8 of them for that. And by the way, I'm going to open up a new tab now real quick, and I'm going to go grab this, make a new tab. And just for fun, I'm going to curl. Make this a little bigger so you guys can see it. We're going to curl that address. And it says, okay, background's light blue, but if I were to grep for Canary, I will see what I want. So I'm going to go curl -s to only give that. Yep, there we go, perfect. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say while true, do curl sleep 1 done. All right, now we have 8 nodes. Let's see where we're at right here. We're still here. We're still everything going this way, but we have established 8 of these Canary nodes. So now, or Canary containers. So we have scaled up the deployment of Canary version 1 to this. Now let's go ahead and edit the app to go to both version 1 and version 2, and we can watch this traffic start to flow. Right now, we still have it all going to version 1. Do you see that? But now we're going to change it. So let's come back over here. We're going to edit that service. And right here, on the version, we're going to just hit DD. It's no longer going to look for a version. It's just looking for app web. Is that right? Yeah. And now we're going to see some version 2s in there. About 80% of the time it'll be version 1, but every now and then it's going to go hit version 2. You guys see that? So a lot of version 1s. There's version 2. Should be about 80% going to version 1. And just a few, 20% go the other way. Okay. That's pretty good. When you edit service, that changes it while it's running, but it's not a permanent change. Well, we didn't deploy the service via, we did the service imperatively. So, no, that service will always be there until it's destroyed. It's just not, we didn't build the service in a declarative way by putting it in a file first, like we probably should have. But no, that is permanent. That is a permanent change. Yeah, Boris, that is a permanent change on this system. Yeah. But again, we did an expose command. Sometimes when you're doing these, tests, I think you said you're doing your CKAD first, right? You haven't done the CKA yet. When you do the tests, sometimes you have to do what's the fastest. So, just because you only have 2 hours to do about 14 to 15 tasks. So, where I'm going with that is understand why we don't just do in the industry. Why do we not just do this all the time? Is because this is not repeatable. But in a lab, understanding how we can build this and being able to do it quickly is perfectly fine. But yeah, this is not the way, what I did right here, this is not the way we would typically deploy a service in the industry. Like for something that's going to be like production eventually, I would do this instead, just so everybody knows. We would do this command, so this expose is still up here. I would do this expose, and I would say, okay. And then I would say dry run. I don't think this is the way you do it anymore. I think it's just dry run now. But you used to say dry run equals client, and then -o YAML, and then you would like dump this to the screen like this. And I would take this, right? And I would take this and I would put this in a file, because that's going to go get those selectors. And then I would redeploy my service from this, right? And then during the test, if you're going to do that, you'll put that into like I don't know, canary service.yaml, however you want to spell it, and then you would modify this, and then you do like a cube create -f, right? That kind of kubectl create -f, and so there's different ways, but this is one of those ones where like this is the quick way to do it on the test. Yes. But if you're asked to do something and then modify it, you got to know how to do these. And by the way, this is the old version of this command. I've learned recently that I think you can do just dry run now. Also, you can always say, I don't remember how to do it. You could always go like this on the test. You could say, it's kubectl expose deployment, but I literally don't remember anything else. And if you do a -help here, actually, I think if you just did it without the help, it would still do it. It'll give you all of the pieces here. I love this. Like, oh, shoot, there's the O output. Okay, good. And then you would come down here, and they also have typically a few examples. So you go, okay, oh, I would do kubectl expose pod. Oh, yes, I just want to expose that one pod on a separate port than what it normally is. Boom, right there. So you have really fast you got to be on this test, because you don't know what's going to come out of the gate. You got to be able to reference these quickly. And if you can at least just start to put together the kubectl expose of like a deployment, even with just a --help on it, it's going to give you examples right here. And then you go, oh, yeah, I forgot. Okay, that's what I wanted to do. And these are my options. Oh, there's my dry run equals client or whatever. And that'll make it just show me instead of implementing it, right? Yeah. So just what I'm telling you is the docs are awesome, but some of the some of the base commands have really good help with them. The ones that I know that have really good help for sure are the expose commands, because look at all these exposes here that would probably have gotten me pretty close if I knew it was a kubectl expose deployment, but I just didn't know how to finish the command. I probably could figure out the other things I needed from here, as long as I'm familiar with it, right? Okay, real quick, by the way, guys, this over here is still going between the two, right? Let's cut it over to only be on the one. So I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to go forward. And now it says verify the labels, and we're doing all the things that we expected. So we can go look, and we can see that the system's now pointed to all 10 of them. We can come over here, and we can see that it's actually going to version 1 and version 2. Should be going to version 1 about 80% of the time. That's, that's just kind of like a you know, a thing for you to kind of play with and okay. Anyway, so then we come down here and we're going to edit the web. Oh, the validation failed because I haven't edited the web service yet. Let's verify. Now let's go over here and edit this web service again to now say version v2. We're going to add v2 back. And as soon as I do this, this should flip to all be version 2 only. We should no longer see version 1 at all, regardless of how many pods it has. It's got 8 pods on the back end. Doesn't matter. They are now a thing of the past. See how everything's going to version 2 right here? So I come back over here. I've got that all working. I come over here and I look and I go, okay, we did this first part. We did this second part where we expanded that out and we were kind of straddling both of them. We were like that Jean-Claude Van Damme where he's between the 2 trucks and he's doing the splits. I know that's the stupidest commercial, but it's funny. And then down here, we flipped it over to Just Beyond Canary version 2. So this is a blue-green deployment and the other one was blue-green deployment. This is a canary deployment. And we contrasted them a little bit in the system to see all of that. Yeah, so you solved that challenge if you did that with me. So for CKAD, those 2 are really big. Those are pretty big. I have some other labs here that kind of go into some CKAD topics more. I've got the 3-tier application. This is probably the biggest deploy that I have. There's some network stuff in there as well. The only thing I would tell you about this one is while this one is good, this one is informed via this other. There's an actual presentation I have on this. Let me go here. I'll show you guys the presentation on this one, and I think this is even recorded somewhere. Do I have it in Kubernetes? Hold on. API Academy, HashiCorp, Kubernetes topics. This one is, this one it? Nope, that's not it. Where did I put this? I might just put it in the regular Prolog projects. Yeah. So this was my Kube presentation 3-tier. I also gave this to my company a while back whenever I first wrote it. Yeah, look at how long ago this is. This is the one that I did to Prolog. So this is a bit dated, but this is still valid, right? And here's what a 3-tier application deployment kind of looks like. Here's some Kubernetes basics, other stuff like that. And we get down into, we've got a front-end Nginx ingress controller. We've got the back-end Python because we're going to build a little Python Flask, and we're going to build the container. And then we're going to connect back to like a database, right? And this is like a little 3-tier app that I build. Then when we get done deploying that, down here we secure it. We make it immutable with no root applied, and then we also do this is the normal thing for a network policy. So we assign some network policies to it. And if you want to do all that stuff right there that's described here, then that's what this right here is. That's what this one is. And it walks you through all those pieces. But the visualization of some of that is over in that. This goes into it, like this explains what you're doing. But I have right here, this is part of a larger presentation given to Prolog and Redline Performance Solutions. It is standalone, but more context can be found in the Discord of the Prolog group. And then I think I even have a YouTube on this that I recorded. But so I'll run through it real quick so you can see. But just know that like more of my visuals are over there. So yeah, YouTube, that document's in Discord. Yeah, it's under the it's under presentations here. It would be, guys, everybody that does presentations typically drops their presentations in there, but this one is the it should be 3-tier. Yeah, Kubernetes 3-tier app. Yeah, from back in September of 2023. But let me show you guys real quick what this looks like then. So we'll go look at the namespaces that are there. Okay, here's the namespaces that are part of the course. This Ingress Nginx one I build as you log in. And then we come down here and we're going to build 2 more. We're going to have an app 1 and a data 1, right? Then we're going to get our namespaces again, and there's our new ones right here, and this one that was built as we started. So cool. Now I'm going to create a secret right off the bat. This is, again, probably not the way you would create a secret at the command line, but For the purposes of this lab, it's perfectly fine. Plus, it's good to see. We're going to create a secret. We're going to be generic about it. And we're going to say from literal, the MySQL root password is very secure. And it's going to apply to the namespace data1. So we're in the data1 namespace. There is a MySQL password that exists. Okay, cool. Then we go down and we get secrets from there, and we see that there's a secret, very secure, right? And then now we're going to go look at this root MySQL storage that I put in here. And this is a very simple persistent volume right here and a persistent volume claim right here. These are things that, like, I would tell people to go spend a little time with learning, but suffice it to say, we've got 10 GB bytes. Those are GB bytes, not gigabytes. We got 10 GB bytes here for the persistent volume, and then we're going to carve that down into a persistent volume claim that we are then going to use and assign to a MySQL pod, right? We're going to download MySQL from the world and get it. So we look at that, and we're going to create that. So we create our storage. Boom, those are there. We can go look at our storage. We can get them in detail, right? Boom, we got them. And then what we can do is we can go look at the ingress. These are all the things that were built as part of the system just standing up right here. These are all the things that I had started up as we turned on this lab before you guys even got to it. But this says, hey, we've got Nginx running as our front end for our cluster. Cool, cool. We're going to need that when we build our ingress controllers later. So, okay. We can go look at Docker. Docker's running. And we have this registry up that we just stood up. And the registry is on port 5000 locally, so we can push builds, because we're going to make some pods here in a little bit, and we can push up there. So we see Docker running for a local image registry. And then we can go look at our Etsy hosts, and we've got this internal IP address. Our system is application.lab.mine. Now, we're doing that just so that we can use that as a name in the ingress. So cool. Everything's ready for the lab. All the pieces are there. So this lab, this one, is you're ready to set up an application and data portions of your 3-tier application. Now, again, if you needed to look at the 3-tier app, it's here. This is what we're about to build right here. If you just need it, if you said, Scott, just show it to me again, this is it right here. We've got the Ingress Nginx controller over in its own namespace. Now we're going to build the data1 namespace database for MySQL back here on port 3306 and tie it to the persistent storage that we made. All right, let's do that real quick. So we're over here. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of there. Let's go look at it. Actually, hold on. Do I... Surprisingly... All right. We're going to make the app first, apparently. I forgot that we made the app first on this one. So let's go into our root Flask Docker. I already made this file. And we're going to cat out the Docker file. And the Docker file is super simple. It's going to pull Python 3.9-alpine. It's going to put in our requirements.txt. That's a file that we've already made. Whoops. I've already made a requirements.txt that you can look at. And mainly we need Flask. That's the main thing. That's what we need for this part to work. So we go look at our requirements, and then we're going to have a tiniest little... remember, you guys know I'm not a programmer by trade, but I can at least put some stuff together. We're going to call Flask, and we're going to look on the local host on port 6000 for this index.html. What does the index.html look like? It's super simple. This is a Flask containerized with Docker. We can even put for Prolog right there or whatever. Right? We put whatever we want. This is simple HTML. All right, we're going to build that, and it's going to pull down the Docker, or Docker is going to pull down the Python 3.9 Alpine. It's going to add in, don't worry about that. It's going to add in our requirements and install them. That's what's happening right here. Gives a little warning, we don't care. And then it's going to move in our code and our files. So it's moved everything in like that it needs to. And we've built it. So now we're going to tag it and push it up to our local repository. And then we can check for, now, once we've done that, right? Here's our local repository. We're going to run our local Flask test app that we're going to run locally. So it's going to be a pod. We're going to pull it from this local host on Flask Docker latest. That's the one we just made. And we're going to put on the control plane node. Just for simplicity's sake, we're going to put on just this one. So let's create that. And when we create it, we should be able to do a kubectl get pods -n data. This one is going to be app1, right? And in there we see that our test app is now running, right? We're gonna touch on getting to that here in a second, but let's expose that with a test app1 service, and then now if we go and we look, we can see the pods running on. There's just one 192.168.0.4. When we look at the service, we see the service is back-ending to that. That's awesome, because the main reason this is so important, and this, you know, I don't want this to get lost on anybody, especially if you're just kind of, my head's spinning, I don't know what's going on. This back-end Python 3.9 container that pod that we just built that has a container inside of it, it has, currently, for this lab, it has a .4 address. Do you guys see that? 192.168.0.4. Okay, that's cool. But tomorrow it could have a .5. Oh shit! Hold on. I hate when I do that. I accidentally went back and forth and it wiped everything off my screen. Well, hold on. So this right here, this for right now, it's got a .4. I could draw a .4 on it. But where I'm going with that is this is a moving target. Tomorrow, this pod could have something happen to it, and then it could be crashed, and it could go over and become a .5. When we define a service and the service is looking for the label, the service will always back end to the correct one. So this is a moving target, but this is stable. Hopefully that's clear to people that are trying to do this stuff professionally. The service is a persistent. Oh shit! The service is a persistent piece. This IP address will always, for 100% of the time, forever, always be there. In fact, this name inside of Kubernetes, all the DNS names are always locally. You can call them by name if you're in the same namespace. But across namespaces, we have a way to call them. This is always there. And it will always point to whatever this changes to. This is not always there. This can change. This can be different in 5 minutes. If somebody were to kill that pod and redeploy it, this will change. But this will always find it via this, the selector, and it will always find it again if as long as all the chutes and ladders work. So hopefully that's clear for you guys. Also, did my, annoyingly enough, my Twitch side said that I wasn't streaming to anybody. It's services are very much load balancers. They are very much reverse proxies. Yes, 100%. Cooking with Kale, you said 5:30 and make a paid online class give you financial independence. Hour of Seconds. I've never played with Hour of Seconds, Cooking with Cole. Yeah, I just, one of my things about this is like I show you guys this stuff, and I really just want people to hang out down in the Discord and go find work, find that you guys can do this stuff. Because I assure you guys, if I can do this stuff, you guys can do it, right? So, yeah, Cooking with Kel, I'll look at that. That seems interesting. Some of you guys know I engineer all day and then I teach at night at a college, so mainly when I'm doing this stuff, I'm actually decompressing. This is kind of my relaxing right here. So, all right. So anyway, so we created that service, and now we're describing it, and we can go and then check. We should be able to describe the service. Okay. Now we're gonna go as we're doing this real quick. We've done all this part. We've got this basic little test app built. We should be able to hit it, but let's finish out the ingress point. Here's what the ingress looks like. It says if the host is application, .lab.mine, I want you to point to this service test-app1 service in. We should have the namespace. Where's the namespace at? And the path will be test, but it just has the name. I thought we had the namespace in there. That's fine. Anyways, it'll find the service on port 6000. And let's create that. And then now if we go and curl application.lab.mine on port 30,080, which happens to be what the external one is, then we will be able to see if we use the /test, we will see this is a Flask app containerized with Docker. There's our test app right there. So come up here. I want to show you guys one thing. I don't think I have it right here. I don't see it here. Sometimes I just forget things that I've done. But anyways, all right. So there's that. That's that. Let's make the backend part work. So let's go look at the SQL deploy. Here's the way my SQL deploy is going to work. I'm going to build the service directly in up front, and it's going to use port 3306. So I'm just doing the service call here. The service is going to use the namespace data1, and it's going to look for the app MySQL. Then down here, we make a little deployment of one MySQL deployment. I think I only have one. Yep. And the container image is going to be locked into MySQL 5.6. Hopefully that one still exists. We're going to pull in a secret of that MySQL root password, which was very secure from earlier. And then we're going to have the container port on 3306. And then we're going to use that persistent 10 gig storage so that if this gets blown away, we don't lose our database. Our database is persistent in the cluster now. So then we come down here, and here's our persistent storage client. Okay, so we're going to get all the pieces. So we're going to create all that, and everything should work. And then let's go get the service detail. Here's the app, and we do not have a backend IP yet, so let's give it a few seconds. And then let's rerun it, and here's our backend IP right here. So 192.168.1.7 should be the deployment. 192.168.1.7 is our node 01. It's on node 01, and it is app MySQL. Okay, good. So that's the back end of this MySQL service, so we can always hit that. Good. And then let's go check and load some data into it. So we're gonna make another client. So we're gonna do something that's not really sneaky, but we're gonna run a MySQL client on, and we're gonna use MySQL 5.7, and we're gonna drop ourselves into a container that only exists during our run of it right here. So we're gonna make a little container and drop into it right now in Kubernetes. And as soon as that downloads, MySQL 5.7, I should be able to hit enter in here. Well, it's taking a second. And we're going to then drop into it and be able to do whatever we need. So in here, the only thing I really have inside of this MySQL client is the ability to go into that MySQL service. So we're going to connect over. So here's the command, MySQL-H. We're going to hit that service, which is going to point us to 192.168.1.7 on 3306. Our password is, where's our password at? uroot p very secure. So there's our password, right? Boom. But again, we're doing it for the lab, so it doesn't matter. Now I'm in a database on that other pod that we just built, and now I'm going to go and run these commands. We're going to create a database for visitors. We're going to use visitors, and then we're going to add these. We're going to add the schema for the create table, and then we're going to insert two entries. And the entries are going to be person ID is 1, and that's Philip Devnall. It's a fake name. And then 2 is Het Tanis, which is also a fake name technically. But here's the schema of our database, right? Super easy to build. And then now we'll go ahead and exit this. Let's go ahead and get out of there Actually, we can just stay right here. Let's run. Let's run, now that we're sitting right here, let's run that and just test that we can see that database. There's tables and visitors, persons, and then here's our table. Boom. Philip Devnall, Het Tanis. There's our people. And I'm going to go ahead and exit this because I don't need to be in MySQL anymore, so now I'm back on my primary system again, right? And then now we're going to make this other part of a 3-tier app. We're going to go read in Docker, and for the read for Docker we need Flask, and we need, where's our other one, PyMySQL, so that we can connect to a database. Boom. So then we're going to go cat our read.py. Super simple. We're going to go connect to this local machine, and then we're going to use index.html. Let's go look at our index.html. This is going to look like, oh, by the way, up here I'm doing something in here that you will normally not do, guys. I'm hard coding the service string. This will typically come in as a variable, and I'm hard coding the password. This will also typically come in as a variable, as will probably the database. So I'm hard coding things that you could very well just go make secrets for and then pass them in, right? But I wasn't worried about that for the purpose of this demonstration. But I'm showing that because that's important to know. Also, remember I said inside of Kubernetes you can always reach things via their DNS name? That's true. However, we're going to be in a different namespace. We're going to be in app 1. So if I'm in app 1, like if I'm in my house and I want to call one of my friends, I can't just yell out, hey, Joe, are you there? Well, that doesn't work. I'm in my house. I have to call them at their house. So this is that namespace. So MySQL-service dot the namespace dot the type of thing it is, which is a service, dot the this is the root name of the actual Kubernetes cluster, which is cluster.local in ours. So if I was in the same namespace, I can use this name. But as is real life, if I'm somewhere else, I have to use their name at their namespace, at their type of service it is. In this case, it's a service, and then the root of the system. And then this full DNS path works, right? Here's our app. Here's some other stuff. And then we're just going to go and we can go, here's our read.py, which, so this is just the basic Flask. And then there's an index.html, which if we want to go look at that, all this is going to do is read the database, and it's going to loop over the results that come out, and it should give us 0 was Philip Devnall, or 1 was Philip Devnall, and 2 was Het Tanis, right? So it'll just populate these results right here. Okay, so let's build our Flask. Let's tag it and push it to our local repo. Don't worry about the warning. We'll tag it and push it to our local repo. And then we're going to create, and I don't think in this one I make you read that file, but we're going to create it. And if you want to cat that file, you can. Here's the whole, that's the whole pod that we're making right here. Now, if we've done everything like we should be able to expose a service for that pod, and then we should be able to go look at it, describe the service, see it back-ended to the right 05, yes, that's the read app, not the test app, and his name is Read up here, Read app 1 service, cool. Now we can go look at the ingress. Here's the complete ingress. We're going to blow away the test one and remake that, and then we're going to make the read one also available. So let's go ahead and delete the old one and make that one. And then now I should be able to do the test and the read. And test should show me containerized app with, Flask or whatever. And then the read one should go and it should read from that database we made, Philip Devnall and Het Tanis. Boom, there we go. So now, I know that's a lot, but if you've been following along, we built this. Come down here, now we've got to secure it. So we've got to destroy and redeploy some of those pods, which is cool because the services will automatically point to the new pods again. And we're going to make them immutable and no root applied, so they're more secure. And then we're going to only allow port 3306 to come into the Data 1 namespace from App 1 namespace. Say no to role-based access control. All right, so now I'm going to show you guys two things real quick. This is kind of important. So here's our network policy deny. And then here's our network policy allow. And it's kind of important when you look at this stuff to understand that network policies inside of Kubernetes work completely different than any other ones we know. So if any of you guys have done network access control lists or access control lists from a Cisco or any of those type of devices standpoint, you deal with what I call the coin sorter problem. You start at the top, you sequentially walk down through each step, and you are either allowed or denied. And if you get to the end and you have not, it's a permit or a deny. And if you get permitted or denied, that's the action. You don't keep going. And then when you get to the bottom, if you haven't been permitted yet, you get automatically denied. That's how access control lists work, right? And then if you do AWS access control lists, or they're called IAM policies, identity and access management policies, those are a little different. If you're ever denied, you can never be allowed again later. But that's completely different than the way that this works. So the way that network policies work inside of Kubernetes is we can set a deny. So we're going to set a deny for anybody to ever come in. Nobody can ever come into namespace data 1. There's like a veil in between these. Like a veil is like a curtain. You can't get in there. It's like you're blocked. But then with this one, they're taking an aggregate. We're going to make a network policy that punches a hole. It's like it just puts a finger, like a little hole through that sheet for port 3306 when you're coming from app 1. So it's the deny any up here. Nobody's allowed in, except, and we put a little hole punch, if you're coming in from 3306, port 3306 from the app 1 location. Well, who's the only people that know how to, or who's the only people allowed to do that? Well, that's our read pod, right? Our read pod is reaching in to a data pod in here. Well, and then, the underlying containers. So let's create those network policies. So to not deny everyone, and then to allow only the ones that we want. And the very first best test of any of these things is, can I still do what I just did? Okay, this one doesn't help us because this is just local. But this one, when we read this, we did read back to our database from our app 1, and it generated this on the fly. Thumbs up, good. But then let's go to a basic. So we're gonna test a failure right here. We're gonna test a failure scenario. We're gonna make one of those MySQL clients again, and we're gonna do it by default because we didn't say where it was gonna run as a namespace. It's gonna run in the default namespace. So then I say, okay, can I connect and select everything? And the answer is, this is gonna sit here. Because I'm in the default namespace, which is not app 1. We're in default. And I'm trying to connect over there. That works. But I'm trying to come from somewhere that doesn't, it's not allowed through that default deny any policy. So I say, okay, that sucks. So I'm going to exit. And I'm going to do the exact same command again, guys. This is the exact same command. In fact, I'll even press up and do it again right here. Here's the same command. But now I'm going to say from the namespace app 1. Because if I'm in the namespace app 1 right here, guys, and I do that exact same other command right here, the MySQL command again, I should be able to work it because I'm allowed to go on port 3306 from app 1 into that database. You guys see that? So sometimes when we do security or when we do any of these things, we test that we didn't break anything that was already there. Cool. But then we test to validate, well, shit, that is locked. That did not go through. And then we do the exact same thing from the application, the namespace that we're allowed to, and it works immediately. So we have tested that we did not break any functionality and also that the things are as we expect. And then we're going to go ahead and delete the read pod for a second. And we're going to look at a secure read pod, which is going to not allow privilege escalation and is going to be a read-only root file system. And we're going to deploy him. So now he's secured, he's locked down. He's also run as the Ubuntu user. So he's no longer the root user, can't be the root user, is a read-only immutable file system, except for the database, which he's not running the database anyways. And now if that worked, we should be able to curl and do read, and it still works. So our application still works, even though we've applied these security rules. So the way that works, or the way that looks, is right here. We have added immutability and no root applied to this backend read pod. It's called read. And then he can connect back to the database still, even with that 3306 in place, to only allow, this network policy only allows 3306 from the app 1 namespace. So here's the app 1 namespace. Boop. He can get over there still. And we just proved that. And yes, I said boop. Anyways, I've shown this to people. I don't know. Most people, their heads just spin, but hopefully for you guys, you pick it up. So, yeah. This is. I didn't focus. So when I made when I've made these labs and stuff, I've focused much more heavily on our Linux and Ansible. But I've told you guys, like, if you're interested in the Kubernetes stuff, I do have some Kubernetes stuff that's I think's good. But also I think that there's so many other good resources on Killer Coda. Again, it's not like a competition. It's more like I just built things that I thought would be useful for our community. I built all the HashiCorp stuff back before the HashiCorp stuff kind of went before they got bought by IBM. But all this stuff still works. You want to go use Packer for the first time? I think Packer is a great tool. Where do I have it? I thought I had Packer in here. Oh, I have Packer in the sandbox, and then you can go work through Packer. But then we have some Vault stuff and other stuff that's kind of fun. But anyways, my point in showing you guys all that is there's a bunch of labs out there. And for you, for sure, for Boris, for sure go in, if you haven't done it, I'm pretty sure you probably have. But you want to get your CKAD, I would tell you to spend some time in here. They've got some decent stuff in here. He's got a different way of doing a blue-green than I do, but it's very similar. He shows it a different way though. His stuff is, I don't even remember. It's been so long since I've looked at his. He wants you to deploy some stuff. Here's an explanation. Here's a tip, and his stuff will help really get you ready for this stuff. A lot of faux blue-green NKX. Yeah. So there's that, and then also another one I would tell you is as you're getting ready for CKAD, you'll learn a lot with CKS, even though it's not directly related to the individual tasks that you'll do. There you go. Def Not Freddy, you're going to pass RHCE, and I wonder if it's a better next step. Do I think Red Hat cert for OpenShift or AWS SysOps cert? What's more recognizable in your opinion? I've only known, so I've been doing Linux for a long time, and I've been around Red Hat a long time. I only first heard of Red Hat Architect a few years ago. So Red Hat Certified Systems Administrator and Red Hat Certified Engineer, obviously those are huge, right? But then the fact, I didn't even know until one of my buddies did it. One of our guys, Mike Pessa, he went and did 5 or 6 other certs after, and he got his Red Hat Certified Architect, which some of you guys probably didn't know. You get 8 Red Hat certs and you get this architect thing. It's pretty cool. Well, where I'm going with that is that was just a goal of his, and he wanted to do it. But I don't think a lot of people know. I mean, except unless you're working directly with Red Hat, what that is. So if you're working in AWS, I would definitely go for an AWS cert. The SysOps cert is what they call a pro cert, or no, DevOps, I think. SysOps is one of the basic ones. Yeah, you could do that one. Some of you guys know I have 5 of the AWS certs, but I stopped doing them. I don't really study for AWS anymore. Yeah. Anyway, so there's a lot of good stuff in here for you guys to play with. But for sure, if you're getting ready for that, Boris, then the other thing, can I show you, Boris? This is one of my favorite things to show people is you just go to the playground, right? Just go to the playground, move this over here to the left like this, and say, okay, I'm going to go into a base Kubernetes environment for my CKAD, but really either of these will work. So I'll go into a CKAD environment, sure. And then this is, I really think that, Boris, I really think this will be what pushes you over the top. Watch it. I really think this will be the thing that makes you ready for your cert. Go over here, get 2 windows like this, right? Okay, I'm in a kubectl get pods, right? Hold on. Get nodes. All right. Make sure I know what my cluster kind of looks like, right? Okay, I'm familiar. And then this is, guys, I'm going to show you. I've literally never done this before on the system, Boris. Watch this. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to say GitHub. And then I'm going to say that instead of any of those things, CKAD notes. And I'm going to tell you, there's so many people. I've never met this guy, Nikhil Gurara. I've never seen him before. Don't even know him from Adam. I don't know this guy. I don't know this guy. But we're going to go to this guy because he was the top one. And I can almost guarantee you he's got, okay, look at all this. Got some notes. He says, you want to know these core concepts? Yep. Always has good stuff like this. Here's your imperative commands. kubectl create, right? He shows you some stuff. And then he says, like, don't try to write your own YAMLs. Make sure you learn how to do a dry run. But he's going to give you a bunch of commands here. So now maybe I go and I run this command and I go, okay, do I understand what this command is doing? Boom. I don't know what's going on with my system. Probably just because of the width of the thing or whatever. But sometimes people will have, hold on, he doesn't have a good one like this. But some people, let's go this next guy. Again, I don't know these guys from anybody, but okay, he's got important tips, cube tips. And sometimes these guys will have, he's got another one of these. Let's see if I can get this one. Maybe I can copy this one without breaking everything. kubectl dry run into a pod. Paste. Boom. I like the dry run equals client as well. That's how I've always done it. Okay, now I do a more on my pod.yaml, and now I've got a basic little pod that I can go change the names on and that kind of stuff. Boom. Then he's got an overview, and then he's got some current progress. Maybe this is his study, whatever this guy's doing. But he's doing it in GKE, so he's got some setting up some stuff. But sometimes guys will have, let's see if there's any anybody that's got like a good practice. What the guys will do sometimes is they'll just say, hey, do the freaking practice. So here's our core concepts. Okay, good. There's some cheat sheets up there. All right, he says create a namespace called my namespace with a pod called image nginx called nginx on this namespace. Now before I cheat, I could just cheat and practice, or I can say, okay, kubectl create ns, and it's going to be my namespace. Boom. kubectl get ns. Okay, I'm practicing. I've got a new namespace. Okay, now I want to make a pod with image nginx called nginx. So kubectl create pod, and we want the pod to be nginx, and the image to equal nginx, and then we want it in the namespace my namespace. And I broke something. Dash image, is it not image? Equals. All right, so now we go cheat because I don't remember how to do that. Dash image equals what? Oh, it's create. Let's run. Damn it, I haven't done it in a while. It's run. I forgot about that. So the command is run. So anyways, it's good that I practiced that. My namespace, right? Boom. And then now kubectl get pods -n namespace I forgot that it's run. My namespace. So anyways, I think Boris, that this is one of the best ways you can go spend your time. When you've done all the other studying and all your other practicing and all the other stuff that you think you need to do, can I get pod logs? Boom. So you come over here and you could just dry run it and walk through it. Or, like, remember I was saying earlier about being able to generate into a thing and then changing it for you? This is how you would deploy that same thing that we just did, but from this. Yeah. So this is this person's practice right here. I'll just link it over to you. But that's one of the things I would do. And then, look, when I'm done, I can just throw the scenario away. I literally don't. This is just a scenario sandbox. I can do whatever I want in it, and then I can throw it away. So I can get a new namespace called myNS, but without creating it. Okay, kube create namespace -o YAML dry run client. Okay, that's kind of cool because maybe I wanted to just generate that and be able to change it. Or I wanted to be able to generate, get all the pods on the namespace. There's just so many things for you to practice that I really think that's valuable for you. All right, so anyways, that's that. I don't really mind getting derailed because I was planning on working on stuff for a while, but that's kind of my thoughts on this. Let's go back to Hammer 25. Okay. We were doing GNS the other day. Landscape. Yeah. Got a lot of stuff going on. How's Ranger doing? Look at That dog ranger down there. That dog is out. His ear is straight up. He's laid out, but his ear is straight up. That dog. All right. Anyway, so that's kind of my thoughts on that. Hopefully, Boris, that gives you some good straight up stuff to go work on. And yeah, again, I would touch those systems every day if you're getting ready for your CKAD. So, and then I'm a big fan of like when I've done all the rest of the things, I've touched every part of the cert, and I'm looking for something else. I will just open up a sandbox and I will just go do things. Some people might not like that. Some people might be like, oh, that's distracting from, well, okay. For me, I will overload, right? Because I just don't want anything to come out of the gate that I'm not at least familiar with enough to pull myself in and pass. So, Kadir said, I have a job interview for a Linux support role in 2 weeks. Do I have any generic advice for how I can land the job? I work in help desk and this is a jump for me. Yeah, Kadir, we actually have a little thing that we've been doing down in our Discord. We did it again last night. So it's unfortunate we didn't meet yesterday, but we have a interview. So we practice interviews, and we were doing this last night. And this is a fake job posting for a company, Do All the Linux, for a Linux junior administrator. And here's the job description and the job responsibilities. And then we do interviews, actually, and you get to talk with us about things. These are the questions I ask in the interview. And actually, you know what? I just realized I got to update this. At the top here, this should say... Why doesn't that say technical at the top? I don't know why that didn't say technical at the top like it should have. But how would you verify amount of file system? And I just asked you about technical things, troubleshooting things, operations things, and personality things. And then we do like 10 minutes on the hot seat where people get to ask questions and stuff like that. Yeah. Boris, I'll tell you, the best way, in my mind, the best way to kind of understand it is, go spend a lot of time with it and then also study it, right? So learn it, get your hands on it, and then also go study it. But yeah, over on the YouTube side, Kadir, I would definitely say find somebody. I mean, if your interview's in 2 weeks, spend time with Linux. If you want to come and work with us, I haven't decided when we're going to do another one of these, but the guys have asked me to do these more often because we were just hanging out. We probably had about 15 people in there last night. And it was a pretty good little thing to play around with. And some of you guys know I've given over 300 professional interviews in my career. I'm always there. People always bring me in for the technical questions. That's like the only thing they want me for is technical stuff. So that ends up being what I'm there for most of the time. So also I'm waiting for this. I was gonna be on screen today, but I'm waiting for this new green screen thing that I'm gonna try. Let me see if that's being delivered yet. It was supposed to be delivered yesterday, but it doesn't look like it's here yet. Hold on. No, wonderful. I'm in a different window. Hold on, guys. Oh, it says now arriving today by 10 p.m. It was supposed to be here yesterday by 10 p.m. But now it's today by 10 p.m. And we're gonna see what that kind of looks like and how that goes. Yeah, Boris, I normally never show I'm trying to think. I only ever show you guys a non-green screen typically when we're hanging out down in Discord. Because I haven't ever set Discord up to like respect the green screen. I don't even know if I probably could. But I just don't even, I mean, like, I don't care. Like, when we're down in the Discord, that's much more like, let's call that more like friend adjacent than here. Because any old person could wander in here, right? But typically when I'm down the Discord, it's more, we're at least like friend adjacent, right? So it's at least somebody had to click a button to come hang out with us at that point. So anyways, I gotta finish up the security engineering stuff. So that's kind of where I was this morning, what I was working on. And for enterprise patching, this is gonna be complete the lab. So we got to make that lab, and then the questions will be around the patching. Oh. Yeah, we're gonna do enterprise patching today. That's where we're at. That's what we got to in the I'm not normally this far behind. I spent actually a good amount of time yesterday too, surprisingly, putting together the patching stuff that we do have. And we have some good repo stuff. For you guys that are doing the security engineering course, what I've already released is pretty good. It's building a repo and then it's sharing it out on your local network. It also shows you some STIG stuff to harden your system. But now my last part for this weekend that I need to do is build out this killer Coda lab on this. So, yeah, Boris. I'm hoping that stuff's useful to you guys. The patching one is going to be more, how to put that? It's not. I don't want to call this more. What's the term I want to use for that? I don't know the term I want to use for that, but it's not going to be like philosophical. It's going to be more rubber meets the road, hard, like things that are actually working. So the lab's going to be oh shoot, hold on. What? Well, let's write the lab first. All right, so we got two windows open for our lab code. One is going to be the lab that we're actually building, which surprisingly enough for this is actually going to be over in Ansible, because we're going to be doing a very specific Ansible enterprise thing. And then the other thing we're going to be doing is here. This is the other one, which is actually that I call it HPC deploy, but we may be modifying what we call this here. Let's that was our data gather one. Yep. Is that data gather somewhere else? Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, let's get in here and make this then. Copy, paste, and we're gonna rename this guy. He'll be 102 Enterprise Ansible Patching. And then we got to go in here and we got to modify everything. So 102. Let's copy this. Patching 102. Control S to save. And yeah, thanks for coming by, Boris. Yeah. Absolutely. You're welcome to come by. I may finish some of this off stream too. I'm just starting it right now. It's been a long weekend. It's actually funny. I was supposed to be, the wife was going to be out of town, but then she was driving out, and I don't know how much you guys know about Arizona, but Arizona's pretty hot and dry outside of the Phoenix area. And she was driving to about an hour and a half away to her friend was doing like a scrapbooking retreat. And then there was a fire. There was just a fire over the road. So they were all, she went, it took an hour to go a mile, and she just turned around and came back. She's like, all right, I'm not going anymore. So then we hung out last night. So I actually ended up hanging out with her around us doing our multiple, because we did multiple things down Discord last night. And I was going to finish this stuff last night, but then I was hanging out with her. So yeah. So this is what we're working on here. Anyways, all right. So let's go play with this a little bit. Foreground doesn't do anything. Index, and this is the Enterprise Ansible patching. Ansible in the Enterprise. Playbook execution. So the first one will be setup. Set up the environment. And then we'll come down here and we'll say patch. Review the playbook for patching everything. And then we'll make one more of these. Right? And this one will be step 3, text markdown. And we'll say deploy deploy the patches via. All right. Step 3 now needs to be here. So copy that one and we'll paste it in here. And then we'll rename it to step 3. Boom. All right, good. So now we got everything we need. Check that. Step 3, verify. Two node. That one's good. Control S to save that one. And then our finish will be, look at you. You deployed. Then patching. And then you ran enterprise patching using Ansible playbooks. Good. All right, that's what you did. Look at you learning Ansible. Let me put a space in there. Boom. All right, so that's all good. That all looks good. All right. But yeah, if any of you guys have any questions about what we do around here, or I'll link the Discord. Mostly, the reason I pop on stream at all is to tell you guys that there's a Discord out there where we do Linux and we teach people how to do Linux professionally. And our main goal is to get people into doing this professionally. We're all hobbyists. We all play around it's not a competition like, oh, I play with Linux more than you or anything. But we all do Linux. We all have our lab environments. A lot of people love showing off their labs, which I think is a great way to use Discord, right? Hang out and show off what you guys are working on. But also we have an overarching goal of getting you guys into doing this stuff professionally. So in the Discord, we have a couple of groups that are running right now on security and administration. There's always events going on, right? We got a bunch of events. There's an event today in, oh shoot, it's only 8:51 a.m. Geez, that's like 7 hours from now. But for some of you guys, yeah, there's a writer's room if you want to go get involved with that. In fact, maybe I'll try to get everything done before the writer's room today. Then there's a Linux admin course study group, so people go and do that. There's a Bash study group that's kind of taken off in popularity for people that, you want to just go tune up how good you are on Bash. I mean, I tell you guys all the time, like you don't have to be some like Bash expert, but you interact with a Linux system through Bash, so you probably should know some of it, right? There's a Linux sysadmin course, and then the Linux security engineering course, and then we've got a big free conference in August that we do, and this is a big virtual conference. We'll have hundreds of people by the time we get up there, but we will have people from all over the industry coming and talking to you guys and stuff like that. But you can use Z Shell, if you want. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can do any kind of shell you want. I think most of you guys that have been around know that. The things that make for good understanding of computer science and programming in general are not tied to individual shells or individual types of code, right? Like if you know how to do a for loop in one language, you can figure out the for loop in another. It's just some different syntax. So yeah, you can use any shell you want. In fact, actually, some of those guys are using Perl, and it's funny because I cut my teeth on Perl. I've been doing Linux for 22 years now, and I started professionally using Bash and Perl for everything. If I couldn't do it easily in Bash, and I didn't want to go look up how to do it with sed, I would just do it with Perl because it's such a good tool. And that's PERL. You freaking closed captioning. Um, but anyways, yeah, so I would do that. And then the main reason I moved away from Perl is about 9 years ago, I was on a team and none of the juniors were using it. And I was like, all right, we'll just do. So now I'm mostly a Bash and Ansible guy, if anybody cares. If you tell me to automate something to 1,000 servers, I'm going to use Ansible. So, yeah. But the point is, you could do any of that stuff. Any of those things that you guys want, for sure. So anyway, so we've got the enterprise Ansible patching. What's our assets? We don't have any special assets in there. Let's go look at our intro. Let's go look at our setup. Make sure Ansible's there. Okay. And then index.json says this is the start of what we're doing. Set up the environment. There's going to be like a pre-execution thing that we're going to do, so we'll probably go do that at that first part. Let's go look at step 1 then. So how do we verify step 1? There's no verification, but it's going to say this is the enterprise Ansible patching. That. To work with the rest. So we're going to git clone HPC deploy. That's still where we're using. Change into that directory. Run or change the playbooks as you see fit. Okay, so we're going to run the playbook to set up the environment. And the playbook that sets up the environment is this one here. I think. I don't remember. You guys gotta understand, I literally don't remember. So where's our NFS system? So one's going to be a server, one's going to be a client, data gather, and package. Now, update or install. Let's go look at those. Update. Install is going to make one web app and one DB. Okay, we can use that. So we'll run that one. So this will be, so the command will be this to run that playbook. Where are we at here? Split these side by side. Playbook-i hosts. We're gonna use root hosts just to be explicit about it, and we're gonna use. We're in that directory, so we're down in the HPC deploy, and that's gonna be this name. Oh, not good. Not what I wanted. Screw it, we'll just type it out ourselves. O3 package update or install.yaml. And then we're going to give extra vars of action equals install. And by doing that, by passing that, we're going to fall down into this role. We're going to fall down into this role here, which is package install. And package install right here is going to go here, and it's going to apply Apache on some servers and MariaDB on others. So we're going to have both of those. That will come up later in our application testing at the end of our thing. Because so if you guys haven't seen this before, let me kind of show you guys how this etches out. In my home lab here. That's weather stuff. Root, Ansible patching. So, generally speaking, we've got a pre-check, we've got a patching, we've got a reboot, and then we've got a app validation and a final validation. But that's not exactly how it's going to work for us. It's going to work slightly different. And the way it's going to work is over here. Open, load from a file. Security engineering course, change it to dark mode. Damn it. So this is what we're going to be doing for this week. We've already done some of these other ones, but now I've got to add this into my documentation. But applying the patches will be a lab and killer coda, and then we're going to do pre-check, a patch, a reboot, a server validation, which we don't really need this final validation, and then the app validation will be the final part. Okay, the app validation will be: is the app up? Is the app working? Is it doing the things that it needs to do? So we're going to test that from our playbook. All right. So these are the things that I'm gonna put in there here in a minute. I'm just stalling. I just don't want to do it. It's more work than I want to do right now. It's not hard. It's just you got to do it. All right. So, check on Ranger. Dog. Get rid of one of those. All right. Let's go write these up then. We're gonna call this. How are we gonna do this? This over here a little bit. We're gonna make a role for each one of these. And I'm just trying to think of how I want to do. I mean, I guess we can do. I guess we can literally just drop them in here, but we could just make them in here, but I just wasn't trying to think of a way to make it. We can make it slightly cleaner, but that's fine. We can drop them all in. It's not going to matter that much, because a lot of the times the things that are in roles are just, you're never going to see them unless you're down there actually editing them. Let's go ahead and we'll just make these. So pre-check, right? Pre-check. We'll go ahead and make, whoops, nope. Don't want to do it like that. Back in roles. Make folder. We're going to do patch. Yeah, patch is fine. Gonna make a reboot. We're going to make a server validation. And then we're gonna make a app validation. Okay. So in there, in each of those, we're gonna have a task folder. And then we're gonna go from there. So let's see how much of this I can reuse. I don't know how much of this I'm going to be able to reuse. I got to add to this lab another thing that comes from even yet a different lab. It's wonderful. Which is custom fact push, dev patching, prod patching. let's grab this and this and this and copy these. These are probably I don't want to put them in there. We need to bring them. Yeah, we can bring them down with us, I guess. All right. So in here, there's going to have to be another one of these. So another roll, one more new folder, and that will be. What do we want to call that? Let's call it. It's an environment setup thing that we're doing, so probably. Oh, what the hell do we want to call this? Terrible at naming, guys. I'm absolutely terrible at naming. Let's just call it fact push. Okay. Fact push is going to have files, and in files we're going to have, geez. Whoops. Paste those files. But also in here, we can make a new file, a new folder for tasks. There we go. All right, that'll be good enough. Good enough for government work. In here, we'll have a file called main.yaml, and then in here we'll start that up. All right, that's a good enough start. It gets us in the right place for this. So because we need to push those. We could say dev patching fact, but it's not really. We can also do that as a template. Oh, so many things to do. Oh, guys, I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. I gotta do all this stuff. I owe it to the guys, but I just don't want to do it. It's too early in the morning. Feels too much like real work. But anyways, when we're done with this, we're gonna push this up, and then we'll have a working lab here. I'm going about it really slow. I'm not in any major rush. But the rest of the lab, by the way, went really well yesterday. I thought we were in the lab building out these repos. If you've never done that, that's somewhat valuable. Also showed them how to do some Stig stuff around Apache. That's what the main focus was: repos, running repos for yourself. If you want to have a repo of a mounted ISO or something like that, and then also patching. Patching's the part that I'm still working on, but it's because we're doing an enterprise level patching, and I'm copying a bunch of my stuff out to do it. So it's going to take a little while to put that lab together. Yeah, so anyways, that's where we're at. Ranger is very old. That's one thing that's for sure about Ranger. I can see him breathing. That's good. But it's only 73 in Phoenix today, which is like pretty low for us. That's Fahrenheit. But it's only 73 today, so it should be like a lot cooler. But yeah, he's mostly just, he'll get up, he'll go outside, and then he wanders around inside a lot. He's been drinking a lot of water the last few months, so I'm kind of a little worried about that. Like, I don't know if he's just kind of getting senile. So we're hoping he makes it to 14. 14 will be in October, if he can make it that far. Right, I think right at the end of October for Ranger. But yeah, he's pretty good. He's a pretty good dog all around. He's just old. Give him a treat every day and make sure he's got food and water. He's good. He slides around on the tile too much, and that's why we put that other rug downstairs for him. He's got another rug in that room that he used to lay on, but he's mostly just taken to laying in his double bed. So yeah, he's doing good. That Ranger. All right. I know I got to do the lab. I just don't want to do it. Too much work. Feels too much like work. Set that back to spinning for a little bit. Let's go and custom fact push is not those are pretty close to the things that we need. I don't know. I don't even know if I really want to do anything today. Just more I'm sitting here, the less I want to do anything. I do need to get, so here's my, pull this up here. I have the let's see, this is our hammer repo on the local box. So this box is still set up from yesterday. I could do, so the patching is going to, by the way, it's going to work on an Ubuntu system because that's what we have in lab, and it's also going to work over on the hammer block systems, but those are, you know, Rocky boxes. So you might say, well, how is it going to work on both? Well, the reason it's going to work on both is because we're going to make certain things make decisions based on the kernel, like not even the kernel, the version of the box it is, and you see how you can start to get really granular. But we're not gonna do that yet. Also, it looks like my closed captioning is busted, so let me fix that real quick. All right, closed captioning should be back working again. Hopefully that's back working. There we go. Yep. All right. You guys should have access to that again. Yeah, I can take a week off. Actually, I have this week off from teaching. I have like two more like things to grade for my college students, and then I'm off for the whole week. I don't have any students this week. Classes start May 5th. But also, some of you guys know, May 5th is also when my PhD program starts back up again. So I'm going to be quite busy, but I'll still be able to get most of this stuff done. I think so. I think I'll be able to get most of this stuff done. Also, the guy showed me a pretty good Vim tutor, so if any of you guys are trying to get better at VI and Vim, there's a pretty good Vim tutor page. I just left it up because whoever pasted it the other day, I think it was Colchis that pasted it. It's pretty good, and it actually resizes with the page, so it doesn't normally look like this. If I were to make this page bigger, it would size out to the whole page, so it's actually pretty good. It's a really good little, like if you're just wanting to learn it better or know more command shortcuts so you don't have to move your hands as much. I know a lot of people are big fans of that. I try not to get too, like I'm not too focused on any one thing with that, but I do think it's valuable to at least know how to move around in there, know how to do that stuff. This is our Bastion stuff. I'm not messing with Bastion stuff right now. Some of you guys know we're going to get one of these little digits things when they come out. They're not out yet, but we're going to get one of these for the home lab. So then if we need to train models or whatever, we'll be able to do it. I already got that approved by the wifey. So and I'm sure I'll use it for the doctorate too, so it'll be fine. I'll get some usage out of it, so it's always valuable. At least get something out of it. What's this last page? Oh, CNCF. Yeah, this last page that's showing CNCF. We were talking about, if you're just like trying to get into the space and you're like, I don't know, there's too many projects. This is a good place to kind of see what the big ones are. If you want to go get involved with some of the bigger ones and that kind of stuff. I think CNCF is excellent for that. I think it's just got an excellent little setup for you guys. If you guys didn't know, we've got a set of books that are free. You can just go download them off the old interwebs, and they deal with our Linux security and Linux admin course. Here's the admin course. Here's the security course. So yeah, that's what we do around here. Just hang out and talk shop, and sometimes I'm kind of serious, but sometimes I also just want to sit here and relax. Not really do much anything. Maybe I need to go eat something. I don't know. Maybe that'll break me out of my funk. Maybe I should play some Brotato. I think Brotato always knocks me out of my funk a little bit too. That's the thing. That is a real thing with engineering too. I remember when I was in college. This was early 2000s. Actually, I think this was the year 2000. Might have been 2001. I had a college professor that was like, yeah, and he was a coder, right? He was one of these guys that actually sat around and coded. He goes, yeah, if you get in like a brain fog or something's going wrong, you just got to go sit and relax a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. And I do tell you guys as engineers and as being an engineer a long time, sometimes you do have to go and just, rest, let the potato rest. Just go and sit down and not think about systems for a little bit or whatever. So I'm a big fan of like kind of quick decompression with games. I have a few games that I like to play. So yeah, going for a walk. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, Glam, I can't tell you how many times in my career I have been like at my wit's end at the end. Like I'll just have been at like a system and I'm just at my wit's end. I have no solution. And I'll walk away for a day and I'll come back and just sit down and fix it in like a minute. And that's probably happened to me more than 10 times in my career. And it's just because sometimes you just need to look at it a different way, or sometimes you just need to go, your brain's not processing something that it should, and then all of a sudden you just pick it up. Yeah, you just pick it up and you go, oh, I didn't even realize, what was I doing there? Like, who the hell is this guy? So yeah, I'm a big fan of that for you guys, for just kind of taking breaks and stuff. I got a good one that I could do for people that haven't been around, or maybe even for people just want to hang out. I can pull up. I've got a whole bunch of old presentations that I've done for us on Linux and systems, and people tend to really like them. We could do the Socratic method for learning Linux. We've done that one recently, though. We could do excelling in the engineering field, what I think somebody needs to excel in the space, and that's from a guy who's been doing it for 22 years. I've done network engineering, systems engineering, security engineering. When I say systems, I mean Linux and platform. I've been a principal for the last over 10 years now, and I'm always the tech lead everywhere I go, right? Like, they always put me in charge of tech stuff. Try to make me a manager, but I always push back. But if you guys want to talk about any of these, probably the ones that are most valuable would maybe be this excelling in the engineering field one. This one I like talking through this. I think there's some value in that. We could also do. Did I ever finish this one? I don't think I ever finished this one. Oh no, this is Linux. No, I never finished that one. Try and look for other ones that might be fun. Got internet security topics. We got monitoring stuff. Linux systems administration. Got general troubleshooting. Sometimes people need that. Security incident response. I think that's a good one. Got a whole bunch of AWS ones if you guys want to talk about AWS at all. I haven't focused on AWS in over a year now, probably. Ever since I got my Solutions Architect Pro last year, and I just haven't thought about it. I haven't worked on it. Yeah, we got some good stuff going on in there. But you know, we meet in the Discord and talk through some of that stuff too. So if you guys are ever looking for stuff, there's all kinds of events going on in our Discord. Just go pop up here, and there's all our events. Oh, there's Writers Room coming up in about 6 hours. Yeah, I think that's about 6 hours from now. That gets pretty poppin'. People get pretty involved with that. That actually is the people writing this book, the Linux admin book and the security book. That's actually what those guys are doing. So if anybody wants to get, there's a contributors page to this, which I don't think the guys have put any contributors on yet. But if you guys help them with it, you will be on the contributors page. So if you want like a link to put on your resume for people to say, hey, I helped do this, then that's a way to get involved. You know, everybody's looking for something to do to get involved and understand this stuff better, and you know, hopefully for most of us, we want to at least get work in the space. That's my goal, right? Get you guys in there doing it. I can't be the only one doing this crap. I'm just kidding. No, but this stuff can be very valuable. This stuff can change your career path. Getting involved and doing all the Linux stuff. It's very, very important. So there we go. Server's been up 7 days. We have a good amount of users on them. That's good. You can see our CPU usage and our memory usage. It's all kind of important. Hayes creates shell companies that you can volunteer for and then say the proof is privately owned and not for viewing. Hayes, I'll tell you something that's questionable. I had a buddy when I was when I first got out of the Army. I had a buddy who spent a little bit of time in and out of jails, and I was running my own company. And one of the things I did was I set it up so that he could come work for me, and then he just came and worked for me at my company because he could get out of jail, like work release program. He would just get out of jail. He would just ride the bus right up 59th Avenue, come to my house, hang out all day, and then he just had to ride the bus back down, or sometimes I'd drive him back home. Or back home to the jail. And then he ended up having to do that for, how long was he in that? That was probably close to a year. He ended up having to do that. That's true, Hayes. I do think that's true. It takes just as much effort to fake it as to learn it. I'm a big fan of, you know, you guys don't have to memorize everything. You just got to spend time with this stuff and know how to reference it, right? Like, know how to read a man page. You know, if you don't remember exactly how ping works, nobody's looking over your shoulder when you're engineering and building stuff. Nobody should be, anyways, unless you got somebody that you're mentoring or something. But for the most part, you know, you can read the man pages for a minute and figure something out. Eventually, I think your notes and your memory are gonna eventually remember everything. But Marion G, how's it going? Hopefully, this stuff's useful. We're not working too hard today. We're just kind of hanging out. I'm waiting for this. I could put up my green screen and turn my camera on, but I'm waiting for this little thing to show up. I'm going to try this other type of green screen and see how that works. Because my green screen that I use is kind of a hassle. It's got to be so close to me. It's like a big curtain behind me. Just annoying. So, fake it. Yeah, make it, fake it, break it. That's funny. But when I do get this thing set up, I'll be back on camera. I've just been not doing it as much recently. All right, here, I'll play around a Brotato while I'm hanging out and talking. Also, well, I mean, one of the reasons I wasn't doing Brotato is I do have to get this stuff done. I told the guys I'd have it done for them today. They only have half of their labs for this week. So I'll give them a little bit of time. All right. Here's Brotato. We're gonna do two things different in Brotato today. We're gonna play on the Doctor, and we're gonna go play it in a mode that I haven't played in a long time, which is the Crash Zone. So we're gonna play it on the hardest mode still, always the hardest mode. But we're gonna try it. I have not played it. I have not played against these original creatures in a long time. Let's do a little Brotato one while we're hanging out. Yeah, and if anybody's got any questions about systems or Linux or where I think the industry's going, although I don't really pay as much attention to that stuff because I work a lot more with government stuff. I'll go ahead and take this. But I am heavily involved with NOAA. Some of you guys know that. So I get to see a fair amount of that stuff going on. All the NOAA is what that is. And yeah, it's just interesting stuff. Yeah, Hayes, what's your question? I'm interested in questions because then that gives me something to think about. I've just been kind of hanging out blathering for the last... Blathering is a real term, by the way. Not blabbering. Blathering. Anybody remember there's in the old Dungeons and Dragons, there was a skill called Blather Speak. To blathe. If any of you guys remember that. Alright, who is Linus Torvalds' daddy and what does he do? That is an Arnold quote from the movie Kindergarten Cop, where they're trying to find out the kid's dad, which one of them's the gangster, and he's like sitting down with all the kids and he's like, who's your daddy and what does he do? Oh, that movie. That was a pretty good movie. I rewatched that recently. Probably a few months ago I rewatched it. Had a good time with it. Pretty funny, pretty entertaining. Yeah, you're fine, Hayes. Let's take range damage. Or regen. It's all good. I do need to get a desk, like a standing desk. I do need one because I'd like to do meetings standing up or something. One of those things. I think that would be better for me than just sitting in my desk all day. Alright. Kill all the bad guys. Collect all the loot. I am playing on this game on the hardest mode, but I'm also playing with the easiest character, I think. So we'll take damage and range damage. Another gun and more speed for our attack and range. We'll take all this stuff. All right, getting on to level 5. Figure it out. I could make this game full screen too. Reason I'm not, you guys can at least see what else is going on. It kind of looks like we still belong in tech and science and tech, even if we're just messing around a little bit. Basically run around and hoovering everything up. Alright, hit points. Another gun, more range damage. And another gun for more damage. And we'll save another gun. It's not a bug. Yeah. I forgot the crates look different in this mode. They don't look like little treasure chests. They look like little crates, actually. Yeah, I haven't played on this mode in a long time. Hell rhymes with tumor. Alright, more damage. More speed. We always want the sharp bullet and the regen. But let's see what level 7 is. I forget what level 7 is on this mode. I don't think anything's hard until level 8. Oh, this one, these little eggs just pop up and you gotta kill them. They're not too bad. They just randomly pop up, so you just gotta go keep an eye out for them. I think it's every 10 seconds or so that you get more. You get 2 a pop. You have to make sure they don't manage to turn into their main guys. If they do turn into their main guys, then they're like 10 times stronger, so you don't want them to be able to do it if you can avoid it. Once I get rid of these guys, I don't really need to worry about it anymore. That's pretty much the last round of them I had to care about, because now, even if they pop up, they don't really get a chance to hatch. Yeah. Not really a big deal after that. Yeah, I don't know why Ranger's so tired either. It's been cool in Phoenix, and he hasn't really been doing anything, so like he doesn't really have a good reason to be as tired as he is. But that's my dog. What can you do? Alright, take more guns. More trees. We'll take that, and we'll take this. Alright. Now this level can kill you because these guys charge you, the big guys, but they shouldn't be too much of a problem. I mean, I think I'm doing a lot of damage, so shouldn't be too bad. Alright, yeah, those guys definitely have more hit points than I remember. Even though I haven't been playing this in a while. A lot of hit points on those guys. More damage. I will take the armor back, sure. Alright. Good enough. Alright, if I recall, this level's just like a whole bunch of enemies coming at you. Just like a wave level of just a whole bunch of enemies. If I recall correctly. It's wave after wave of them. Yep, sounds about right. But no match for me, since I've got the rounds that now penetrate. Yeah, not a problem. Just cause all the damage. Alright, pick up more damage, or more range. More speed. More luck. Better gun. More guns. More damage. More guns, I guess more elemental damage. And yeah, we'll take all that. So yeah, this week we talked in the Linux admin course, we talked about creating users in groups and dot files and just all the things that it takes to kind of understand user interactions with the system. And for some people, like, they never, if you've just been playing around with Linux, you never touch dot files. But once you start supporting maybe some developers and people who love just maybe finding stuff on the internet and plugging it in without thinking about it, you'll start to find that dot files are really powerful and users can break the crap out of their environment if you let them. Like I was explaining yesterday, like when you're in a Linux shell, you have full control of that shell. It's your shell. I'm not just talking about like when you're root. When you're root, you have obviously, permissions to do just about everything in a Linux box in general. But when you're just some user and you're just in a shell that we've given you, you have, for lack of better terms, you're almost like Jafar, phenomenal cosmic power, itty bitty living space, right? You've got just all this ability to do things to screw yourself up. And sometimes you got to fix users from that, because users will cause themselves all kinds of problems if you let them. And I think people that have admin Linux know that that's definitely true. So, all right, we'll hold on to this stuff. All right, we got a boss coming in level 12, so we got one more level with no bosses. But we got these silly little guys that for some reason are called mummies, but I always think of them as little rib cages. I don't know why they got the name mummy, but I don't see it. Do you guys see that as mummies? Let me know how that works, but I think they look like little rib cages. All right, 20 more seconds. Let's see. Shouldn't be too bad. Like nothing on this level. Nothing's really giving me a problem yet. I forget the bosses though. Like I haven't seen some of these bosses in probably a year, so I don't even remember what the bosses do. 'Cause I've been playing on the Abyss so much. Oh, Linux developer, you never broke your shell. Yeah, I'll tell you, I've run into a lot of non-root users over the years that they'll just do little weird stuff, and just the fix for me is just take everything out of their dot files and give them give them brand new dot files and let them start over, because a lot of times you'll find that they just find something and they're like, oh, I'll just throw this alias in, and that alias breaks something, and or they're like, oh, I don't need to source the .bash rc, the Etsy bash rc. I don't need to source that, and then it's like, well, that was most of your functionality, and then things are all gone. And all right, let's see what this boss does. I don't remember these bosses at all. This guy charges. He's the Rhino. I remember this guy. He's never too much of a problem. I don't remember what he does after he mutates though. So we'll see. I think maybe he charges faster. We'll see. All right, he's pretty manageable right now. Let's see if he's gonna get any more scary here in a second or not. Nope, he's down. And then I should have gotten a red crate from him because he's a boss, or a mini boss, so he wasn't too bad. Big scheme of things. Oh, we want to kill this little guy and take his backpack. Alright. Not terrible. Regeneration potion, sure. Lure, sure. We'll take more range damage. Attack speed. Better gun. We want more damage. And we'll take these two things for the next round. Well, when we can afford them. I've never used Z shell. I've used C shell and K shell, or commonly called corn shell. I've never used Z shell. I don't even know what that's native in. Is that native to some kind of... I don't even know. I've definitely never had a user on it. So my users are always in Bash shell or C shell, typically. Alright, trying to stay alive. Trying to stay alive. Oh, don't let those guys all kill me. Yeah, I forgot how much hit points those damn tentacles have. They're super annoying. Alright, we'll take speed. And that. And then, shoot, we'll take armor, even though armor is only half on this guy. We want damage. Take that. And take range, and then we'll save our gun for later. To config CSH. Arch user. Yeah. Well, I tell guys, I mean, I'm fine with people using any version of Linux they want around here. I'm actually okay with it. However, when somebody tells me they want to do it professionally, I do tell them to move towards one of the pro, like ones that are using the enterprise. But for our hobbyist stuff, we can use whatever versions we want, right? We do whatever we want. It's our environment. Literally, that's why we're most of us do Linux, because it's literally our environment, and we can do whatever we want. We don't have to wait for some system to allow us to do the things that it wants us to do, and lock us into things that we can only do certain things, right? We want all the power. That's probably why most of us got into Linux systems in the first place. We wanted an environment that we could customize and work on and do whatever we wanted to, but we didn't want to have to, be limited underneath. Even though we're called admins in the Windows world, we're not really in charge of our environment. And that's more and more true the more and more you get into this stuff, right? And I don't advertise it much, but I have run enterprise Windows for companies, right, in my career, and I don't really talk about it much. But that being said, like, that stuff, you still don't have that much power over it, even when you're domain admin. Like, you still don't have that much power. Not compared to what you got with Linux. You can literally do whatever you want, within the bounds of the system. Yeah, some of you guys will note, like, I use other stuff. I use Windows for my productivity, interfacing with my work and my college and that kind of stuff. So, but other than that, like, I'm a big fan of just using Linux for most things. All right, we're gonna take attack speed, and we'll take armor. To hell. And we can't take the celery tea because we've got a boss, so you don't want to fight a boss with double hit points. That's silliness. Go ahead and take that and that. More regen, more damage, and excuse me. All right, let's see what boss we got. I don't remember any of these bosses. Oh, this guy, I always, like, playing this, I always thought this was the easiest of the bosses. That doesn't mean he might not get me, but he was always the easiest to me. Oh, there we go, he's down. I feel like his level was harder than him. I mean, this freaking guy's piling up everywhere. Hassle. Big hassle. Too much of a hassle, in fact. Alright, we should be pretty well set now. There we go. Alright, this one's interesting. Every range weapons, every 5th projectile has +3 projectiles, but we give a little less damage out. We definitely want to take it. We'll take that damage right back, and then we'll take even more damage. So that's perfect. And we'll take the celery tea. So this next level, the enemies will have twice as many hit points, so that'll be a hassle. And let's see if we can take more damage. So that'll be a lot of damage. We're going to be doing pretty good damage right now on the enemy. We'll take even more damage here in a second. All right. Let's see how we do. Now, again, they have double hit points, so that's annoying, but we've managed to get some other things that give us extra damage, so we should be good. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, we're doing a pretty good job of clearing the board. There's these really annoying little brain-looking guys on this level, and if you leave them alive, they buff their friends, and it's super annoying. So we just want to kill them way early. We want to kill them as soon as they're on the screen. Other guys can wait, but those guys will cause... What they'll do is they'll buff up all their buddies for more hit points and damage, and I'll just get overrun, so I really don't want to leave them alive very long on the screen. Also, again, we doubled everybody's hit points this level, so this would have been a much easier level without that. But, well, sometimes you gotta go big or go home, right? You gotta play for keeps. Let's kill those little brain guys. Yeah, that level wasn't too bad for what it was. More damage. More damage. Speed is equal to damage. More damage is equal to damage. Better gun? Nope. Combine. Better gun. More speed. More crit. More speed. And we'll take the ghost on the next one. Take another medical gun. Alright. Let's go find out what boss we got. Alright. This one's called Mother. When Mother gets to about half health... Oh no, this one's not Mother. Mother's a different one. This one's down already. Never mind. Mother creates a bunch of extra monsters. That was a Mother. That's a different one. I was thinking of a different monster. Mother kind of looks like a big Pizza the Hut. Anybody remember who Pizza the Hut was? What movie that's from? Frickin' Pizza the Hut. I need to rewatch that movie. I know somebody knows who that is. And then does anybody remember how he died? How did Pizza the Hut die? Oh. Hold on real quick, guys. Wifey! Is somebody here? Hold on a second, guys. I gotta go see who's here. I'll be back, but I'll leave one of you guys in charge. Maybe that's the phone. We're going to take this medical, and then we're going to lock in that because the lantern's pretty good for later. All right, guys, I'll be right back. Give me a second. Okay, I'm still streaming. Alright. Apparently that was just the phone. It was just weird that the front door was open to the house and there was like some voice that I didn't recognize, but apparently it was the son-in-law. So, alright. We should be good on this level. I was worried at the beginning as we started out with not all our hit points, but we're good. Should be good now. This guy's just chargy kind of fast, but all in all, it's not too bad. Alright, not too bad. Yeah. So let's go for damage, healing, and hold on to this. And we'll probably hold on to the nuclear launcher because that'll be good in the future. And let's see. All right. It's almost, I almost got my second wind, I think. Get in there, finish this damn lab up. I gotta finish up my presentation part of it as well. So I'll probably pull some stuff over there and throw that in there. Yeah. Get a lot done here in a minute. I hope. There we go. Take wings. Sure. Sure. Range damage. More damage. We're gonna hold on to that nuclear launcher for a minute. More hit points. Take luck and harvesting, that's fine. Damage. Be more crit. Hey, Control Byte, how's it going? And book reminds me, where's Tawny? Oh, I haven't seen. Tawny was around a few days ago. Actually, I can tell you exactly when he was around because he resubscribed on 7 days ago. So 1 week ago, Tawny was in here hanging out. Yeah, I need to see if Tawny will come talk to the group one day, maybe for our annual thing. But if you guys don't know, Tawny works with SANS.org, so they work with like cybersecurity stuff, and he's given some presentations with them. He actually travels around and trains for them. So, you know, if we could ever get Tawny's time to come talk about stuff, and actually he's published as well with them with some stuff that's kind of interesting. All right, if I recall this right, we want to be rotating. Yep, we always want to be rotating on these guys. So he should be down. Oh, don't die. And then now this guy is simple. Yeah. So those are the two bosses. Haven't killed those two bosses in like probably over a year on this game, because I haven't played this version of it. I've always been playing the other one, but looks like we should. Yeah, we're doing pretty all right. Also, that was the completion for the game, so we finished it. We're only still playing now because we can go into the later levels. And if you go into the later levels, you obviously don't want to give up all the extra points you would have gotten on this one. So we've technically beaten the game right now. Like if I were to die, it would say game completed or game run finished. We're just kind of hanging out waiting for the... we're just taking extra money so that we can go into the next levels if we want to. We're doing pretty good on money too. We're up over almost 800. It's pretty solid. We should be 921 with our stuff going. All right, we'll take potato, even though that's the worst of the things you can get. And jetpack's fine for speed, sure. We'll take even more speed, sure. Attack speed. And we got to decide if we want this nuclear launcher. We'll take it. And oh, even more nuclear launchers, and then crit. We'll take it. We'll take all of it. Damage, sure. More crit, sure. Speed, And regen. Yeah, that's all good. We'll take all that stuff. All right. See if we can kill everybody still. Yep. Pretty good. So now we're in the levels that don't really. They're just these levels are just for people who want to see how far they can go. I think the furthest I've ever made it is level 58, but sometimes there's ways to break the game mechanics and go further. But most of them have been removed from the game because it used to be that you could just keep upping everything, but they've kind of changed that. A lot of that stuff that's busted has been tuned out, so can't really get away with it anymore. I think a big part of that is probably because of there's a streamer, Admiral Baru, who he went and he would always break the things. And I'm pretty sure the guy who wrote it watches his stream. He would go fix everything and patch it all out. Take more damage or more crit. Don't want that luck, but we do want more HP. And we'll take those things. Take more crit. Damage. Alright. 2 bosses. We'll see 2 bosses this time. Alright, one of them's down. And the other one's down. Alright, good. So both bosses are down, no problems. And let's see where I'm at. I'm at 39. Okay. Yeah, we're good. Take more speed. And grinds magical leaf. So 3 more hit points, 1 more regen, and 1 more life steal each level. It's huge. Huge upgrade for things. We'll take the stone skin even though we don't get a lot of armor on this guy. We'll still work to it. And then take more crit. Alright. Do need to up our damage, but if you don't get good items for that, there's nothing you can do. More of this and more hit points, and apparently I'm never going to be able to afford that, so I'm just going to get rid of it. And take the wolf helmet. Take speed at the cost of a little bit of luck. And we'll get some knockback and some more crit. That's what we'll do. That's what we're working on, guys. So guys, we'll be starting week 6 this week. We're in week 5 of the Linux sysadmin course. Next week we'll be up in week 6. So if anybody's checking these things out and think about if they want to take the free course, it is free. It's in the Discord. But you do have to spend a fair amount of time in there, so I would count the costs of going to that versus, you know, something else. Like, you know, what do you want to spend your time on? It's always true, right? That's always the economics term, talking about the opportunity cost of a thing. One thing costs this, something else costs this. Which one's of more value, right? So feel free to do with that, guys, as you will. Have I set it up for CE credits? I don't know what CE credits are. Oh, continuing education. No, I haven't. I mean, I guess somebody could. That might be kind of good. Actually, I was talking to my brother 2 days ago. I was talking to my brother, and he's thinking of doing his CCSP, which I also have one of those. And he was thinking of doing it, and he was telling me, yeah. And I explained to him I said, you know, whatever of those certs you get, CISSP, CCSP, you have to do continuing education credits, and you have to pay $125 a year. And most people don't. They're like, oh, 125. In the big scheme of things, 125 becomes a lot less compared to maybe other things. Plus, you might be able to get your company to pay for it, you know, for some of you. But yeah, my brother was just looking for things, and he was like, yeah, CCSP might be good. And I'm like, yeah, it's a fine cert. I actually like the cert process maybe more than the CISSP. I thought it was a very fair test. Some of you guys know they don't tell you, ISC squared tests, they don't tell you how you did. They just tell you pass or fail. So, like I was talking to my brother, and I said, I felt really good. I thought I was at like 85, 90%, maybe even higher. But then I know, like, I always think I do well on tests. I might have been in the low 80s, you know. So I don't know. But I thought I was smoking that test. There wasn't anything I hadn't seen. I thought it was pretty good. But they don't tell you. They just tell you pass or fail. And I like their reasoning behind it. Their reasoning is they didn't want to set up like a hierarchical system where some people are like, well, I got a CISSP at 99%. They wanted everybody to be either certified or not certified. So they did not. That was a conscious decision by that group. I think that's fair. You know, do what you guys need to with your own group, obviously. So, I'll take that. Screw it. What are we doing here? We need take that. Get it out of the way. Take baby with a beard for more damage. More damage on the screen. It's always important. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, but I do have, like, in the course. I wonder if the guy stripped it off. No, I think they left it. Let's see. I put it in here. I don't see it. Hold on. It might have, maybe some things get lost in the translation, or they're not. People don't find it. Ah, here it is. Yeah. So contact hours is 50 theory and 70 lab hours for the Linux sysadmin course, and that was important. That's actually how I built the course to be. Over the course of 12 weeks, you would be doing approximately 8 hours worth of work or so. So it would come out pretty close to that. 50 theory and then 70 lab, just so you know the split of how much hands-on you did versus just studying and reading books and stuff and listening to course theory stuff. And I think that's a good split. I think that's probably over here on this one too then. Have to imagine the guys left it. Yeah, this one's only 100 hours. So this is about 10 hours a week because this is a 10-week course. And then maybe we'll up that one of these days in the future. Who knows? But we're going to definitely have more courses coming as we get to them. Different ways to look at some of the same things in the engineering world. In our security engineering course, we're not really focused on how we get there. Some things we're doing manually through like Stigs. Some things we're automating with Ansible. Some we're just doing Bash. It's less important. The more important thing is understanding like the security components, right? And the security things that are going into it. And then, but then when I redo that and similar types of labs show up in the automation courses, they will be automation for the sake of automation. And they will have less to do with why you're securing it. I mean, you'll know why you're securing it likely, but that'll be less of the focus, right? Like the the focus shifts based on what you're actually doing the task for. And some people focus on security in the company. Some people do automation. Sometimes you work together. You're doing different things, but you're doing them to the same end goal. We'll take more damage from the enemy for more damage or for more experience. Take more speed, range. Screw it. We'll give him more speed. Hold on to that Kraken Eye. More crit. We'll just take all kinds of crit. What's our crit up to? 77? It's not bad. 77's not bad at all. Okay, this guy's gonna charge us. Oh, he charged way farther than I remember. Oh. That character right there that I just killed, he always gave people the most problems. He was always the one that, if you read forums or whatever, he gave people the most problems to kill. He was never too bad if he had enough speed. We got pretty good speed right now, so our guy's not as sluggish as normal. Get the merch with channel points? Yeah. Yeah, I wish I could figure out a way to do that. Although, channel points are one of those things that they just happen in Twitch, so there's no real value to them. But it would be fun to figure something out. One of my buddies, Midnight Simon, he's got a thing. If you ever get like 1,000,000 channel points or something, he sends you something. But I never. It's always some outrageous thing that like one person every year is ever gonna get. So that's always funny. We're doing pretty good. We're up in the past level 20. Level 20 is, or wave 20 is the end of the game, and we're up at level wave 28. So we're doing all right. We're in end game anyways, so we're past the regular game right now. In case anybody's wondering. I'll take that. More damage each level. And more damage on bosses, more attack speed. And we'll get more experience. Alright. Then we got another level of bosses here after this. I think our next level is be boss and 2 bosses and a mini boss. Next level. If we can make it there. Kind of falling asleep sitting here. Which is actually kind of funny. I'm legitimately like closing my eyes and falling asleep. Alright, don't die. Number 1 rule, don't die. We're doing alright. Doing good damage. Alright, more damage. Take that. And we'll get our crit up. And more experience and more damage. And do we want another nuclear launcher? Probably. We're going to cap our speed at, I think that's 69. And then we'll get a bunch of range and engineering and damage. So that's good. And then we'll go ahead and lock in the lure. Alright, so we got 2 bosses and a mini boss to beat. Let's see if we can do it. See if we can do it. Nope. Ran right into him because I was looking the other way. Bought the Sound Summer album, picked it up thinking I can hear the music, give good vibrations, wouldn't it be nice on CD? And it was good timing because I had money to spare. That's funny. Oh man, guys, I don't know why I'm so tired right now. I got a good night's rest, I thought, but I'm definitely slowly losing it. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably end this here. I'll try to hop back on. Normally, starting next week for sure, probably not this weekend, but starting next weekend or the weekend just after, I'm going to start doing like a study session. My Sunday nights, I talked to the wife about it. Sunday nights, I'm probably going to do like a 4-hour, it'll be academic study. So it'll be working on my doctorate. I might even be doing some writing. I'll show you guys kind of my process for writing and research. And if anybody wants to get involved with that, you can. Obviously, most people won't be working on their doctorates, but they're welcome to hang out. And when I'm not working directly, so I will be working directly on my dissertation for the next year and a half, essentially. But for those of us that want to start getting the prologue published and stuff like that, if anybody wants to do any of that stuff, that's when we're going to do it. So look for that to start popping up in the Discord. Some people are more academic than others. Some people like to just do the Linux stuff and write the code and do stuff and go about their day. That's fine. Some people want to do kind of like what my PhD is going to be in, which is systems engineering. Some people want to sit around and think of the systems and how the communication occurs and how to make that work better. And we'll be working on that kind of stuff. And we've got some projects around that we're going to be building into the labs eventually. So, we'll get all that stuff going. But yeah, Linux developer, we're welcome. We're going to have everybody that wants to come down there. I'll probably run it in Discord and Twitch. I don't know if those ones are going to get recorded to YouTube or not. So those may or may not go over to YouTube. Depending on how much we get done and how much we want to show people. Because obviously, if you're working on stuff that's going to get published, it's got to be peer reviewed anyways. So maybe we'll hold that off until we get peer reviewed, and then maybe we'll release that for people that are interested. I think people that are interested are just going to show up to the actual Discord, But we'll work on that stuff. That'll also be, I'm sure, more boring for some people because it'll basically be us just sitting around hanging out and like a study sesh. But we will work on stuff if people want and all that good stuff. So, all right. Well, I'm going to go and get this stuff done that I need to. And for people that have hung out with me this long, I appreciate you guys coming by. We will be back at it this week. And just, keep an eye on Discord if you guys are looking for more stuff that we're kind of working on. So that's Research Assistant. I like that. All right. Take care, guys.